Hey, what's up? Doug Cunnington here from Niche Site Project. In this interview, I talked to John Robinson, who was an IT guy who quit his job and started traveling the world. And by the way, if you're new to the channel, have a look around and talk a lot about affiliate marketing, Amazon affiliate marketing specifically. And if you like what you see, please consider subscribing. In our conversation, John and I talk about how he got started online, how he got into Kindle Publishing, and then Amazon merch, which I'm not super familiar with, but John explains it for us. And then John tells us a little bit about his YouTube channel and vlog and kind of why he got started with that. So let's just get over to the interview right now. Hey, what's up? Doug Cunnington here from Niche Site Project, and I'm here with my friend John. How are you today?
Not bad. Can't complain.
Good, good. So John is a digital nomad and he's sort of like living the dream, depending on, what dream you may have. But a lot of people may not know you, John, who are watching from my channel. So can you give a little introduction, like who you are, what you're doing now, where you're located, stuff like that?
Yeah, so I guess as a digital nomad, I originally started building an online business to kind of give me this freedom back in maybe March 2015. Started with Kindle Publishing and moved on from there to merch by Amazon, Redbubble, like t-shirts, some physical products. And I started going full-time kind of nomadic lifestyle at the end of 2015. I quit my job. You know, the typical story, one-way ticket to Cancun. So I did that, and I've just been in and out of different countries for the past 2 years. Sustaining it mostly with Kindle Publishing and the t-shirts, but recently started trading cryptocurrency. So gotcha. I got into that trend too.
Wow, pretty cool. Well, and what did you do for your regular job before you quit?
I worked corporate IT for a couple years.
Okay.
Yeah, so after a couple years of that, after about a year of that, I was like, okay, this isn't working out for me, especially in Minnesota.
Gotcha. Is that where you're from, Minnesota?
No, that's where I had the job, though. I'm originally from St. Louis, but
yep.
You know, when you're walking into work and you have icicles forming on your eyelashes, you're kind of like, I need to do something about this situation.
Yeah, it's rough in the winter that far north, so windy too, right? So okay, so you quit your job. You were like, this is not cool, and you got a one-way ticket. You're like, I'm going to Cancun. I'm just going to hang out and see what happens. So did you have like any income? Like at that point, did you already start your online work?
Yeah, so I started it actually back in January of 2015. I got an email from some big marketer I was following, and he hadn't sold anything up to me at that point, but he started selling this online business course for about $2,000, and I was like, whoa, you know, I trust this guy, right? But now all of a sudden he's trying to sell me a $2,000 scammy course, you know?
Right.
But he had a 60-day refund. So I was like, what do I have to lose, you know?
Sure.
And so I tried it. I did end up getting the refund, but it completely shifted my brain in terms of like online marketing. So then I started trying out some different courses and eventually hit K-Money Mastery. It's the biggest course online about Kindle Publishing, basically.
Gotcha. And I remember hearing about Kindle Publishing, and it sounded like very interesting. Some people were doing really well, but I never looked into it. So can you, like, for people that aren't familiar with the Kindle Publishing platform and like the process, can you just like briefly describe it?
So for somebody who's not familiar with Kindle Publishing at all, what you're doing more or less is using Amazon keywords, and you can use some different software like Kindle Spy, but you're basically researching what people are actually searching on Amazon, and then you'll kind of study the competition, see what are the best sellers in that specific topic, and analyze what people like or don't like about the books, and then you'll hire ghostwriters to write competing books about them. And they don't have to be novel length. A lot of these are just like short reads up to like 10,000 words.
Gotcha. How many pages is like 10,000 words? 30, 50 pages?
Something like that. Like I know from my audiobooks, if I have a 10,000 word audiobook, it'll average about an hour long read. So
okay, interesting. And then like the process of hiring a writer, how does that go? Like, because you have to find someone who kind of knows what the hell's going on for that book topic, right?
Yeah. So there are services out there that'll say, for example, if you're trying to test out the niche of golf, you might want to go in there and just like do kind of a minimum of MVP, minimum viable product to just test out how much of a return you can make on like a small book. So
Sure.
you would use a website such as, actually my friend has a business called hotghostwriter.com. Just gonna shout him out right there. But businesses like that, you can go to them and pay like pretty low rates to have a book written. And they'll you just kind of describe what you want, kind of a table of contents or something. They'll write it for you. But sometimes, I mean, depending on the company you go through, it could have non-native English speakers, and you'll have to do a lot of editing for that. Ideally, you would have a link to your email list at the beginning of each book and be able to build a brand outside of those books, so you own the email list.
You didn't mention this, but my assumption is because you did the keyword research early, then you're able to not do much marketing. It just works within the Kindle ecosystem, and because people are searching for it, they'll find the book. And if you get reasonable reviews, then you'll rank higher in the Amazon search like ecosystem, right?
Yeah, that's kind of how you would get started. And then once you kind of know what you're doing, there's a lot of promotional services out there that you can pay like $100, $200 a book. And they already have these email lists built up of like tens of thousands of people. So
Gotcha.
What you'll do when you release a new Kindle book is they'll give you 5 days of a free promotion. And you'll use all these promo services during that 5 days. So you'll promote your free book, but that's kind of to just get it in the rankings and get a lot of reviews during that time.
Got it. Interesting. So can you give us an idea like how many books you have in your portfolio?
I think I have between like 70 and 100.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, I haven't been too active with it lately, but they add up over time once you start testing different niches and stuff. But
Sure. That's cool. And I guess some of them probably like are a little bit of a flop, and some of them like really exceed your expectations and stuff like that, right?
yeah, I have some that actually right when I started some of my first books that still make me a consistent few $100s a month. And I haven't even touched them since the beginning.
Amazing. That's great.
But I have some that even after I kind of figured out what I was doing, they've just flopped completely. So
Interesting. Crazy. And like, you don't have to share your income or anything, but can you give us like a ballpark of like, are you making like a full-time income just from the Kindle side of your business, or whatever you want to share, just so people have a scope of like how much a person can make with like a portfolio of like 70, 100 books or whatever?
I don't want to specify exactly, but I am
That's
making
fair.
a full-time income. To give you an idea of how far you could take it, though, I do personally know some people who make upwards of $30,000, $40,000 a month. So if you really put in the work, the sky's the limit as far as that. But
Right.
I make more or less a full-time corporate salary.
Gotcha. And you don't have to sit in the IT office or whatever you were doing before.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. We went really deep in that. I've always found the Kindle side of like the Kindle publishing stuff super interesting. So thanks for divulging me there. So let's get into the travel stuff. So you got to Cancun. You started like, getting more traction on the Kindle side. Like how long were you in Mexico? Where'd you go next? Can you just tell us like where you've traveled like over the last couple of years here?
Yeah, so I started in Mexico for a few months in Quintana Roo, Cancun, Playa del Carmen area, just because I didn't want to go too far in case everything just fell apart underneath me.
Yeah.
But it didn't. So then I continued on to Southeast Asia for a while, like a motorbike through Vietnam, set up in Thailand for a bit, and then went on to India, Sri Lanka. And after that, let's see, I came back to the States, started again in Mexico. That seems to be my kickoff point, Playa del Carmen. I'd recommend it. And then I went down to Central America, lived in some homestays in Guatemala, studied Spanish for a month and a half, and went to Nicaragua. And then I just got a little burnt out on Central America, so I went to Europe. So I'm just finishing up 3 months across Europe, probably over like 10 countries. So I'm actually in Belgrade, Serbia now.
Gotcha. Amazing. So, and how many countries have you been to total?
I think it's about 22 now.
22.
So I guess
yeah,
21
that's impressive.
in 2 years.
Yeah, crazy. And like, I guess you kind of knew what you were getting into for your second sort of tour when you left, but like, were there any big surprises doing this digital nomad stuff? Like once you got on the road there?
I mean, there's always a surprise.
Do you have any good
in terms
stories
of,
where like you showed up and you were like, oh, this did not work out like I thought it was going to?
well, just in terms of travel stories. Yeah, when I was in Vietnam, a friend actually that recognized me from one of my YouTube videos, I met him in Thailand and we just became friends from there. So that was kind of weird because I only had a couple thousand views or whatever. But
Right.
just shows you how small the world is. But we decided to motorbike through Vietnam. And on our first day out of Saigon, he was just kind of bored. We had been on the road for about 8 hours or so. And so he was trying these, I think it's called Wim Hof breathing exercises.
Oh yeah,
Like,
yeah.
well,
I've heard of that. Yeah.
he kind of took off in front of me and I lost him for a bit. But he just started doing these breathing exercises on his bike. And apparently he crashed because he blacked out, like too much oxygen to the brain. So I didn't even see him. I thought he was just like way far ahead of me. So I get to the next city, maybe like 45 minutes or an hour away. And when I finally arrived, like I rushed to a cafe to get internet access. And he messaged me on Facebook like, hey, I crashed, got stitches, but I'm okay now. Like I'm at this Vietnamese family's house. So he ended up staying with them for like 7 days.
Wow.
And I ended up booking a hotel nearby. So it was just kind of cool because they barely even spoke English. You know, we didn't know any Vietnamese, but they just took in this random American guy for for a week.
Crazy. I guess he's okay now. It's good to go.
Yeah, he's good. Maybe I'll meet him on the next adventure, but
Yeah. And like for like a reference point for the people that don't know the Wim Hof like breathing stuff, he was on the Tim Ferriss podcast, so that's the only reason I know. But he has these breathing exercises where yeah, you get like more oxygen to your in your body or whatever. And I guess he does a lot like Wim Hof does a lot of like temperature extreme things. So he'll like hike a very tall mountain with like in shorts or something. It's super cold, like crazy stuff like that, or do ice baths or like swim under ice lakes. And I'm not sure. It's crazy. So it's good your friend made it through. That's insane. Okay, in getting sort of back on track here. So you've traveled to a lot of places. You're finishing up traveling in Europe. Like, I guess where are you heading to next? Are you coming back to the States for a bit? It's around the holidays right now and stuff. So
yeah, I was originally going to go back to the States for Christmas, but for some reason I just really wanted to see Israel on Christmas time, just because I'm not a religious guy or anything, but it would just be cool. Like, yeah, so I'll do that, and then I'll go to Athens, then I'll be back in Asia. I'll be in Chiang Mai again for a bit. So
cool. Very cool.
After that, maybe Indonesia and Taiwan. We'll see.
Wow. This is very cool. It's just like, how far do you like plan out ahead? I mean, what time period is that through?
Usually I don't really plan out past a couple months just because usually I'll get the itch after about a month in a place. The next year I'm trying to like slow it down a little bit and just so I can get some more work done, you know, build some more businesses. Yeah,
Gotcha.
It's pretty spontaneous, I'd say.
Yeah, it sounds like. Well, speaking of spontaneous, like, so you had your IT job, you know, your family and friends were probably like, all right, you know, John's doing well. And then what was it like telling people that you're like, hey, I'm going to quit. Also, I have a one-way plane ticket and yeah, I'm doing this thing. So what did your family and friends think about that?
I still remember calling my mom, actually. This must have been like a month and a half before I was about to quit, maybe even 2. Like, I had already booked my ticket, so there was no going back, but they were just shocked at the idea. And I think everybody is shocked when it actually happens, because for the longest time, if you're like, oh, I'm going to make money online, I'm going to build a business, they're just like, oh, it's just him being him again. But yeah, they were pretty shocked, especially when I said I was getting a one-way ticket to Mexico. So
Yeah. Interesting. So like, have they come around, or when did they come around and they're like, oh, well, this is actually working out pretty well?
I mean, I'm not really sure
Yeah. Okay.
exactly. I guess after 6 months, a year goes by, eventually more and more confidence develops in terms of, oh, I guess this is just his life now.
Yeah. Right. Crazy. Yeah. It's pretty, I mean, I think it's
it's tough, especially like with your friends or your peers who may also have corporate jobs. I mean, a lot of us have friends where we work just naturally. So yeah, my friends are still like, oh, you're still doing the online thing or whatever. But you know, meanwhile, like our businesses are growing, like we're doing better than like we could have in a corporate job, and we're like happier about it, get to travel and do cool stuff. So
yeah.
So when you were just getting started, like, did you look up to anyone specifically where you're like, oh, I sort of want to follow in that person's footsteps, or anyone that you followed specifically online?
I followed Ramit Sethi a lot. I will teach you to be rich.com. He has just the way he presents himself, and his sales writing, his sales copy is just like, it's superb if you want to get it to that level. But in terms of Kindle, it was Stefan Palernos. Like, I followed a lot of his videos about self-improvement as well. And there's just a lot of things I still remember that he really nailed into my brain.
Gotcha. Very cool. Yeah, I like Ramit as well. He's not abrasive. I think like to some people, he's probably like really abrasive. I appreciate it. It seems like you appreciate like his style and the way he talks, and, you know, he expects a lot out of you. And if you're not gonna, you know, bring your A game, like you're not one of his customers. But I bought a couple of his courses actually. They're really good. So did you ever get any of the I Will Teach courses, or?
Well, that was actually the course that
was the one. Okay.
Yeah. I don't want to I don't think you'll ever watch this, but actually I will say there's a lot of fundamentals that I did learn in that course that are still in my brain today.
Yeah. And it's like the course or the couple that I have, like one's like a copywriting course, and the other one is like a mastermind sort of coaching group situation. And they're both expensive. They're both like, you know, in a way you can probably read and learn a lot of this stuff elsewhere, but like the way he puts it together, I'm happy with the course overall. So yeah, I've heard of a couple people who have gotten refunds from an I Will Teach You to Be Rich course, but generally it's like, they're professionals. They do a good job. So cool. Yeah. Ramit's awesome. And tell us about your YouTube channel some. So that's actually how we connected. I checked out your YouTube channel. Like, what do you have on there, and what's going on with it?
For a while, I started doing tutorials related to merch by Amazon, and those blew up. I mean, I just did a few, but then I just kind of started, I started my Vietnam trip, and I was like, that was when Casey Neistat was kind of blowing up. So I was like, I don't know, I want to try this vlogging thing. So I vlogged the entire way through that. Vlogged a lot in Thailand and India as well, which I never got around to editing the India videos. But I haven't uploaded anything in a while, but I'm thinking I should kind of rebrand it and be on the lookout for some new tutorials and some new ways to create online businesses or make some extra cash.
Right on. Yeah. And like, well, like most things, I'm like 2-3 years behind. So like I didn't find Casey Neistat until like the last few months. But yeah, it's really good. So I can see why you would like get enthusiastic about it, and you're like, I'm doing interesting stuff. All you have to do is like show up, and the editing takes forever. So I could appreciate that. I actually have an editor now that helps me, which is why my videos look a little better than they did. But you mentioned you had a couple videos blow up on like Merch by Amazon. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Again, can you educate us, just for people that don't know what merch is? Can you tell us like what the deal?
Yes. So the print on demand industry has been around for a while now, like Zazzle and Spreadshirt, Redbubble. But Merch by Amazon is Amazon's entry into that industry. So you just create a design and you upload it, and Amazon will do all the fulfillment and most of the marketing as well. So
gotcha. Just
because there's so many eyeballs on Amazon, it's a lot easier to make the same amount of profits as you would with a lot more shirts on another website.
Got it. And it's all t-shirts, right?
Yeah. But in the future, I think they're coming out with longer t-shirts, hoodies, hats, and everything. I mean, because their program exploded like a lot more than they thought.
Right.
So
cool. So was that sort of like, I mean, those got tens of thousands of views for your channel, right?
Yeah.
Cool. And are you still like doing merch stuff, or what?
I mean, I had some really successful months, but it just became really competitive after a while. I mean, you can still make a lot of money, don't get me wrong, but for me, I wanted something that was passive, and it was passive initially, but Amazon really cracked down on copyright and trademark issues. So even if you have a shirt that looks similar to somebody else's, if they report your shirt before you report theirs, then you're the one out of luck. So
Gotcha. So it just ends up being like a copycat race. Not that you were doing that or anything, John, but like
yeah.
it just ends up being like someone will copy you and then you're trying to find other ideas and like it just, there's so many people doing it.
I mean, no, it's fine. If you look at my merch YouTube videos, they're definitely, I have big disclaimers because they're kind of some sketchy tactics. But the thing is, there's a small minority of the people doing them. So I'm just putting the knowledge out there. Most of my t-shirt designs are pretty original now because I'm kind of a designer myself. But I have had shirts that were kind of a copy of somebody else's shirt, like really close, but it was my own text and everything. And people just take what they'll do is they'll take a screenshot of your shirt on Merch by Amazon and just stretch it out and just upload it like that. So it'll be like really pixelated and stuff.
Yeah.
And I saw people do that with my designs. Like, so they're making copies of copies. And so Amazon really cracked down on that. Even some people's tactics now, if you'll have a shirt that takes off, say you're selling thousands of copies and you haven't trademarked the phrase on it, somebody can go trademark that phrase and then report your bestseller. And so theirs takes over the rank.
And they have the paperwork. They did the paperwork, so they own it.
Yeah.
Got it. Interesting. So like, I guess a lot of people that are watching may not have like any business going on. Like some, a lot of the stuff I talk about is Amazon affiliate type sites. But if you were comparing, say, the merch like business model and the Kindle for someone who is just starting out, like where would you sort of direct them and why?
Definitely Kindle, because merch, there's a few steps, but once the money runs out of that particular business opportunity, then you'll be back at square one. But I think one of the big things about Kindle is that with a small investment, you can learn basically all of the fundamentals of online marketing. Everything from creating a product based on keywords to building an email list, building a bigger brand off of that. But it does have a lot more potential just in terms of the ways you can spin off your brand.
Right.
Say, for example, if you wanted to build up your email list with books, you could try to then build a Shopify store, sell physical products to your book email list, like something like that.
Gotcha. So it's really just a great platform to launch like just about any business. Cause I mean, you could, as long as you have an email list, you could do something with it. So
yeah, exactly.
Ramit and friends. So very cool. Now we're sort of towards the end of the year. And I know you mentioned, like maybe I'm going to settle down a bit coming up in the next year. Like where's your focus? Like business wise, what are you going to try and make your goal for next year?
In terms of business, I mean, like I said earlier, all of my time is focused on cryptocurrency right now. So I just see this opportunity really like skyrocketing in the next year in terms of trading and investment. So I'm going to keep riding this one until the wheels fall off, kind of,
yeah. Okay.
And then try to take that capital and invest it in another business or some other opportunity like that. But
cool. So focused on crypto trading and just like doubling, tripling down on what you got going on and just focusing really hard on that.
Yeah. I mean, I've personally made more profits this week than I've made like it's crazy, but
yeah.
Eventually I know that the party will end, as regulations start getting more restricting around ICOs and stuff like that. But that's one of those things. I don't want to be one of those guys who's telling you to buy Bitcoin, but
yeah, but buy Bitcoin. Is that what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of just up and coming projects within the blockchain environment that are just pretty revolutionary, I'd say. So,
yeah. You may have inspired me, John, to at least like do a little bit more research, educate myself. Cause we talked a little bit last week and I was like, I know that all these things are out there, but like, I'm so focused on other stuff. Like, yeah. I don't even know. I don't even know what's going on. So it sounds very interesting, but that it scares me because I don't know. I don't have enough background knowledge and all that stuff. So I'm just like it would be very risky for me to do anything. So
Yeah. I mean, it can be pretty intimidating, but read a few books on it now and just went through books on trading, candlestick patterns, all that. I'm in a couple like mastermind groups as well, coming up with some different strategies.
Very cool. So, all right. Well, where can people find you, John? Where should we direct them? And we'll put links below, by the way.
Right now, www.worldwidejohn.com.
Cool.
So that's John with an H. But I haven't updated my channel in a bit, but just subscribe there, and I'm sure I have some wheels spinning in terms of upcoming tutorials and some videos I want to come up with. So
awesome. Yeah, we'll put links below for everybody. Thanks, John. Really appreciate your time today, and safe travels. Hope you have a good trip to Israel and everything.
Yep. Yeah, I'm crossing my fingers on that one. But
yeah, right on.
Thanks for having me.
All right. See you, John.
All right. Take it easy.
Thanks for watching the interview. Thanks, John, for hanging out with me and telling me your story. I'll place all of John's links below in the description, so check out his channel, check out what he's working on. Thanks again.